Hello, my name is Pastor David Prenga. I'm the executive pastor here at Brewster Baptist Church, and I get to share with you the verse of the day. And all week we've been looking at Psalm 19, and it goes along with my sermon, How Does God Speak to Us? The verse today is kind of a challenging group of verses. And let me just start with the verse of the day from Psalm 19, verses 12 through 13. It says, "But who can discern their own errors? Forgive my hidden faults. Keep your servant also from willful sins, that they may not rule over me. Then I will be blameless, innocent of your great transgressions." See, David wanted a close relationship with God. It was critically important to him. David wanted to be in a right relationship with him. He wanted to follow God with his whole heart. But David also realized that he did things that were wrong. And one of those things is hidden faults that he mentions in verse 12. In 13, he goes on and talks about willful sins. See, David knew that his sins, both hidden sins and willful sins, does damage in his relationship with God. And David wanted to keep his relationship strong. So what does he do? He says, you know what? I need to ask God for forgiveness. And some of us may be thinking, well, what are those hidden faults and those willful sins that David is talking about? Well, I'm glad you asked. See, hidden faults are the sins that we commit towards God that we're not even aware that we are committing. We're either ignorant of it, we are without knowledge of it, and there are times in our life where we do this and we're not even aware of it, yet we're still sinning towards God. And David is simply saying to God, forgive me for my hidden faults. David is simply asking God for forgiveness, even during those times where he may not even realize that he's sinning towards God with his words or through his actions or something else. See, I believe that we may be doing this more than we realize. See, David is sharing with us and showing us that we need to ask God for forgiveness in these situations, even when they're not intentional acts. And then David goes on in verse 13, he says, "Keep your servant also from willful sins." Well, what are these willful sins? Well, these are sins that we commit towards God or an individual with intent or a purpose. We choose to commit this willfully. We know that we're doing it wrong, but we do it anyway. And I think of David's life. When David committed adultery with Bathsheba, he was fully aware of what he was doing. He saw her, he sinned for her. And then he arranged for Uriah, Bathsheba's husband, to be killed in battle. David tried to cover up his sin. See, David was guilty of murder, guilty of adultery, lying, covering up those things. David violated obvious moral law and his commandments that God has set before us. See, God knew what David was doing. And David knew what he was doing was wrong. But David realized that he had committed these sins and he had to ask God for forgiveness. David also realized that these willful sins can become addictive and can even enslave the person. Another reason David is asking God for forgiveness is that it helps him turn from his ways. See, David knew that God would forgive him. That David knew the real forgiveness happens when we go to God and then we turn and make changes in our life. See, in our life, we also commit sins that are both hidden and intentional or willful sins towards God or other people. And like David, example, we need to ask God for forgiveness. We need to turn from our ways and walk with him. See, when we ask God for forgiveness, God grants that to us. And he gives us the peace in our heart that we're looking for. See, each one of us, we want to be blameless. We want a clean heart before God. We want God to be part of our life. And that means that we need to ask for forgiveness for the things that we do wrong. And I know it's hard to do, but if we want a close relationship with God, we need to do it. Well, thanks for joining with me for the verse of the day. Hope to see you tomorrow. God bless and have a wonderful day.